I feel for clinicians like who are really trying to do all of the right things, and they see that a counterpart that's maybe not doing great quality, like they're getting paid the same, like the reimbursement rate is the same, and then their margins are much bigger because they're not spending time on onboarding, or they're not spending time on, hey, let's do a round table to talk about this case, and no, it's not going to be reimbursable. And so then they're operating with much smaller margins, and then they see the place down the street like handing out bonuses and pizza parties, and not that those are fun, but they have more money to work with, and then they may be losing staff because they can't offer the same salaries, but they're doing better service. I imagine that must feel really unfair. Just because you're a good behavior analyst doesn't mean you're a great teacher. And so, I just did that all in my head. I didn't think about walking you through how I made all those decisions along the way. I'm just telling you, change the prompting strategy, or let's change the materials, or we're missing a prerequisite skill. If you don't tell your behavioral analytic trainee under you how you got to that point, they're just like, oh crap, okay, I guess that's just what we do now. But under what conditions? If we don't have a good framework for teaching that, then they're not going to know how you got there, and they're not going to be able to apply those skills when they have their own caseload. And I think that's what's happening a lot. Like, this one time I saw my supervisor change prompting strategies, so I'm just going to change the prompting strategy, not really understanding like under what conditions did they make that change. I just saw them do it, so I'm going to do it the next time.
Hey there, welcome to the Cooperant Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Steary. Just enjoying nearly August. I always talk about the weather, Steve, and I feel like if only there was something just way more interesting to talk about than the weather. Anything new with you? What's going on with you, man?
Just random lack of sleep. Has nothing to do with there being a new tiny baby in the house or anything like that. just randomly stopped being able to sleep out of nowhere.
I'm excited to announce to the world that you're a proud papa of 3 now.
Yes, 3 large boys. You even knew at birth. I'm almost 6'4", and he was exactly 15 days early. I was 2 weeks early, and he's a pound heavier and an inch longer than I was. So we're gonna be not affording groceries here any day now.
Yeah. Well, you'll have help on the help on the farm if you decide to have a farm.
If we have a farm, we're just dragging you up because the Amish roots. I don't know what I'm doing, but you could just take over here.
I don't know what I'm doing either. But you guys doing well? You guys getting sleep?
Yeah,
baby sleeps kind of thing.
It was only 2 days of him refusing to sleep without being touched, and so we got that under control. So now it's just the getting up in the night. And I'll be honest, most of the time Taylor doesn't even bother me because I just am a zombie when she wakes me up, and then I'm a zombie the rest of the day afterwards. So
I do want to introduce our guest, but I just want to end on saying that the juxtaposition of your normal demeanor versus when you're with your kids is the funniest contrast ever, because you immediately go to just bubbly fun, big papa with these kids and roll around with them, and then I hang out with Steve and you're like, what's up?
I don't know how to be different. It's just natural. Whatever happens.
I love it.
Truthfully, it's probably partially our guest's fault because she was one of the first supervisors I had in undergrad and always yelled at us for making sure we're being fun and bubbly with the kids. So could be.
There you go. That's a good segue. Before we introduce her, though, I do want to remind the listening audience that Cooperant is a project of Sparks Behavioral Services, LLC. We are an ACE-approved CE provider. If you're listening to this and thinking hey, this is so great, how could this experience get any better than what it already is? You can get a CE for this and many other of our episodes. So check out cooperantlearning.com. In the meantime, though, we're not here to talk about our children or CEs or big jovial Steve. We're here to talk clinical decision models, and to do so, we've got an awesome guest today. Steve, as you said, a mentor of yours, but I'll do the introduction. She is a licensed behavior analyst and a BCBAD in Arizona and Texas. She completed her master's degree in psychology from Western Michigan University in 2007. Specializing in autism and OBM. Received her PhD in psychology from Western in 2010, specializing in behavior analysis. And since 2017, she's been creating clinical decision support systems and clinical intelligence forms. I need to ask her what that's all about because I don't know what that is. For various prominent insurance
Intelligence. You
yes,
don't know what
exactly. Insurance companies and provider agencies. She's contributed as an expert witness in several court cases and has functioned as an ad hoc reviewer for behavior and analysts. Can't talk. Behavior Analysis in Practice Journal. Most recently, she's been appointed by the governor of Arizona to be a committee member on the Committee for Behavior Analysts. Dr. Kristen Byra, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I know that sounds real impressive being expert witness, but I've been in court plenty of times myself. All right. So maybe not as a witness, but
you're an expert defendant. Kristen, how are things going in your neck of the woods? What's life like in Arizona these days?
Well, to your weather point, it's hot. It's really nice when you step out of your car in the parking lot and you feel that radiant heat, coming up from the pavement. It just comes from all sides. So it's warm here, but it's weird because I'm from Connecticut, and I think of back to school time as like fall and transitioning to like needing like a sweater maybe as you get on the school bus. But my kids go back to school next week in Arizona, so this is their last free week of no school, and they are definitely going to be rocking shorts and t-shirts and full on body fans.
It's wild how quick that creeps up on us. That creeped up really fast. The fall did.
Yes.
I admire you for supervising Steve and then getting as far away from him as possible.
Yeah, it was only like a semester or two, and I was still an undergrad, so she got out of there just in the nick of time, I think.
But I also had to supervise the master's students who had to supervise you. So
yes.
Like chain effect.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you got out of there in time where you don't have to take any blame for what I do, and so that's a smart thing to do.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. We claim nothing and nothing that you do, Steve. Hey, we're not here to talk about Steve. That's the last thing I want to talk about.
Are you sure? I'm here to talk about me.
We're going to talk about clinical decision support systems. This is something that Kristen brought up, and looking at your website at upskillaba.com is something that you've put a lot of work and effort into. So I'm really excited to dig into it with you. Before we do that, any introduction that I missed that you feel would be really pertinent for our audience to know, and what kind of led to your interest in this clinical decision support systems?
Sure. So maybe I know you talked about my graduation dates, but maybe orienting listeners to the fact that it was pre-medical model. So when I was going through all of my graduate training, there was not insurance funding. And so things have definitely changed in the field when I was doing all my training to like now as a, practicing clinician, things have changed quite a bit. So kind of living through that change in our field, I think is a little bit of a different perspective. And I know, Steve did that, as well, because he's old like me. Not as old, but getting there.
Kyle's our age too, so it's all. Yeah.
Kyle just looks better than us. So
I don't look it. Yeah. Yep. 100%.
That's because he's got a hat on.
What were some of we're going off script a little bit here, but what were some of the starkest contrasts to that kind of flip in models? Like what was, your biggest, like, whoa, that's very different than what it used to be with that medical model kind of being introduced?
Sure. So I think, at least for my experience, we were in a school system. And so the collaboration between, SLP and OT, special ed teachers and things like that was just kind of part of like the daily grind, so to speak. That wasn't like a foreign concept. Like we were going to speech therapy sessions with our clients because they were happening within the school. And so I know it's been challenging for, I think, a lot of our field to do really good care coordination because it's just not something that they're necessarily exposed to as they're going through their practicum hours. Everything we had was on site. So it's a little bit different. And then how we approach care, I was not being told how to dictate every 15 minutes, right? We weren't billing CPT codes. So I was, we were not writing session notes and is this billable or not billable? It really was, what do we need to do to provide the best possible care for this client and go do it? So we definitely had, some different freedoms in that regard. And I am sad to see that changed quite a bit, because I do think folks are making decisions underneath that kind of contingency, as opposed to what we were maybe practicing under.
Yeah, I
Sure.
feel like it really was like just go use your science, be a behavior analyst, and now it's like do that while you can, but also just make sure you can get paid too.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting perspective and background leading into this idea of clinical decision support. So is that kind of what sparked that interest for you? Like, hey, like there should be something guiding the clinical choices that practitioners make day to day, or what was that background that kind of led to that interest?
Yeah, I mean, when we think about breaking it down very basically, like what is a decision, right? Where you're just committing to a course of action. What am I going to have for breakfast today? Am I going to have cereal or am I going to have toast, right? It's a very simple decision. Binary, we're going one pathway or the other, but you are committing, right? Like you're deciding, I'm going to have this, I'm going to go make the toast and go and eat it. So when we're making clinical decisions, there is a couple of things that impact our decision making capabilities. One of that is time, right? The time that I have to
Hmm.
gather the relevant information, and then our ability to kind of process that information and access to it. And so I know when we were graduate students, we're going to go teach a kid to tie his shoes. We were going to go look up in Java, well, what's the best way to approach that? And in the written program, I remember including citations, right? Like, this is the article that I based this on. I'm going to find better, smarter people that have already done this, and I'm going to model that behavior into that for this particular client, right? I'm going to look at the limitations of the study and see like what kind of comments they had of, oh, had we maybe approached it with these type of sneakers instead, that would have went better. Oh, great. I'm going to use that when I go and run this protocol. And so again, that's not a billable CPT code right now to go and do literature reviews. And so when I ask people, are they doing that on the daily? A lot of people are telling me no, they aren't. And I think because they don't have the bandwidth, we don't have time. But I also think there's a bit of a skill deficit to really understand how to do a really robust literature review on a topic. Even in our program, do our master's project. We didn't do a thesis in our program if we just got our master's degree. We were still doing lit reviews to support our project. But I think a lot of folks who are not coming through degrees that require that kind of academic inquiry, they're not getting those skill sets to go and do that. So if we don't have access to information and we don't have time to go either gather those resources or review them, then we're not going to make the best informed decision. So with the clinical decision models, I'm trying to combat both those things. I'm the one who's going and gathering all of that research and information for you. I'm synthesizing it and trying to help you make that more, kind of efficient and also informed decision with the models.
Wow. Yeah. Is that then what, as far as a clinical decision support system goes, like what exactly is it in terms of like either what you created or like how would you define?
Sure. Yeah, so it's definitely borrowed from the medical community. So I'll give you a medical example first. I think it's a little easier for everyone to kind of get their brain around it. You are going to the emergency room because you come into the emergency room, you're complaining of severe head pain, right? Like, if we're starting there, they're going to start triaging and say, when did it start? Were you in a car accident, or do you wake up like this? And we're trying to triage, what exactly should I be doing for a next step of investigation? If you come in and say, well, yeah, I just got rear-ended, it's traffic, like blood everywhere, right? Maybe there's something sticking out of your head. I'm going to go down a different decision pathway to start doing like some x-rays and CT scans, versus you came in and said, oh, I woke up this way, I just had this like blinding pain since this morning, I have double vision. Then maybe we're going to do an MRI and start ruling out, like things like stroke and, thunderclap headaches and things like that, versus, pull in your head and, hemorrhaging, right? So there's some
Right. Right.
decision modeling that is happening there in the ER to how do we best treat you, right? So someone comes in with chest pain and you are a 50-year-old man who's overweight, like they're probably immediately going to start looking at heart attack symptoms, versus, a kid who's coming in with those symptoms. So in the medical community, they're constantly doing decision models, even during your, wellness checks, sinus infection kind of presentation. Is it allergies? Is it an infection? Is it a virus? Like there's decision modeling that is going on, oftentimes right in the laptop in front of you, if not in their kind of minds. So they've gone through the process enough, but we're gathering information from the user, and then based on those responses, bringing them through the next kind of course of suggested outcomes. I will say that it is not artificial intelligence. So AI is everywhere. Don't get me wrong. With everyone using Claude and ChatGPT and Copilot and things like that.
Yeah.
Decision modeling is not that. So you're not dumping in some data, putting it through some language learning model and getting some kind of output. You are entering information and then you're getting suggested next steps. It is supplementing your decision making. It's not replacing your decision making. It's going to say, have you considered? Have you thought of this? Oh, you haven't? Hey, here's how you'd go investigate that. So thinking about looking at data that's not progressing, right? You have a graph in front of you. It looks like a coronary event, right? It's just super erratic all over the place. And we start asking, like, have you noticed that there could potentially be a temporal relationship? And you may say, I don't know what that means. Tell me more. Oh, do we see that there's different performance at 8 o'clock in the morning versus 12 p.m.? Oh, yes, actually, I do see that in my data. Okay, let's figure out why there might be a temporal relationship. Is the kid, having some challenging behavior? We skip breakfast. Now it's 11:30. Lunch is noon. It starts bringing you through. How do I start analyzing what may be happening? And then if you make that discovery, here's some suggested action steps. Like, can we get them breakfast the second they come into the clinic? Right? Can we adjust lunchtime? Like, how can we break up the schedule so that we have better, learning engagement and a better time for a learner? So it's not going to tell you, jumping in the graph and it's like, well, I noticed some trend, go do the thing. It's walking you through that knowledge kind of process. So you should also get smarter as a result of using it, right? Because it is kind of a knowledge management system. Next time you look at a graph, you may already start look at, I see that thing happening again. I'm noticing there's a difference of responding in the morning versus the afternoon. So that was a very long-winded answer. Sorry, Kyle.
No, that makes sense. And that's interesting too, because it prompted you the last time and you kind of picked up on maybe a subtlety in the graph that you didn't notice before. Next time that learning history draws in, and now you might even make that decision yourself based on the data, not with the prompt. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's important that it's not walking someone through or hand-holding, because not only do we see people that still need to build some of these skills that they may not have learned yet, but how many times do we see someone who is not using the skills that they learned at one point and then forgetting them as well?
And we are training lots of new staff, right? Like we have a lot of folks who are in graduate training programs right now. And I think it provides a nice framework for, here's how I would go through it. Like, let me show you with these tools. I think sometimes we forget not just because you're a good behavior analyst doesn't mean you're a great teacher. And so, I just did that all in my head. I didn't think about walking you through how I made all those decisions along the way. I'm just telling you, change the prompting strategy, or let's change the materials, or we're missing a prerequisite skill. If you don't tell your behavioral analytic trainee under you how you got to that point, they're just like, oh crap, okay, I guess that's just what we do now. But under what conditions? If we don't have a good framework for teaching that, then they're not going to know how you got there, and they're not going to be able to apply those skills when they have their own caseload. And I think that's what's happening a lot. Like, this one time I saw my supervisor change prompting strategies, so I'm just going to change the prompting strategy, not really understanding like under what conditions did they make that change. I just saw them do it, so I'm going to do it the next time. And then it doesn't go very well, and they don't understand why did it work in that case and it's not working when I do it? And that's a huge problem. And then we have kids who have stalled programs for months and months and months at a time.
Yeah, I'm sure I've said it on here before, but the number of people I've talked to, or not necessarily directly supervised, but reviewed their work in some capacity one way or another, that it's like, all right, so why are you using a token economy here? And they're just like, that's just what you do. They don't know when, where, or why
ABA.
to use it to.
Doing ABA.
That's just like, if you can't tell me why it's a good fit for that, even if it is, then that's not a good thing.
Yeah. And a lot of this seems like something that would that you would pursue in like a mentorship situation, like, like I have a graph that I bring to a mentor and they look at it and help me make a clinical decision. Are you seeing less of that being like people being able to find mentorship to help make those clinical decisions and being like more left on their own?
I heard someone say at one of the, I don't remember what conference it was, but one of the presenters said there's not enough gray haired folks to go around. And while I am not sporting wisdom highlights, thank you, I do think there is some truth to that. Like there's just either folks who have the experience are put into leadership roles that are like so far removed from the day to day, like they're not clinic directors, they're, VP of whatevers, and they're not doing mentoring and supervision anymore. And the folks
Mm,
that are in clinical director position, I did a poll on Facebook not that long ago, and it was like, how long before you were in a clinic director? And like over half, it was like under 3 years, like under 3 years of practicing, and they're in like a
wow.
supervision, position. And so the folks who are in those roles, like they may be floundering just as much as the people that they're supposed to be overseeing and mentoring. And so I don't think we have enough folks who have either the capacity or in the positions to be providing that, biweekly mentorship and oversight with clinical cases. And even those in clinic director positions who may be well skilled. I'm not saying every clinic director isn't competent, like I'm sure plenty of them are. They're often pulled in a lot of different directions that they don't have the bandwidth, even if they have the competency to sit down and do case reviews. Or maybe meeting like once a month, and if you have 10 clients, how are you picking? Right? We're going to look at
Yeah.
today in this 1 hour when I also need to review your other KPIs because I'm also apparently your performance manager, and making sure you're getting your documentation in on side. If you start adding all those things in, how much is left for clinical case consult? 40 minutes, maybe? And like, what can you really accomplish an entire caseload in 40 minutes? I'm going to say not a whole lot.
Right, right. I'm definitely going to use the term wisdom highlights from here on out because I like that a lot. I'm stealing that from you.
Excellent.
But so what does this look like then? If I were to use the clinical the decision support system, this is a computerized program, but it's not
Yes.
AI. How would you differentiate it from AI? I assume AI will tell you anything you want to hear. So if I put the prompt in the right way, I can have the evidence
Yes.
that I need with AI to support my decision. But what kind of evidence base do you draw from when you build these system, and what kind of models do you include, and how does it all work if I were to sit down and start with one?
Sure. So in terms of the build, like where does it come from? So I'm certainly leaning on the practice care guidelines from our field. So we have, CASP in there, and then of course our ethical code of conduct as behavior analysts, but then everything else comes from our research. So evidence-based practice. So publications. It's not just Kristen Byra thought it was a neat idea to go do this. Like, no, this is what better, smarter people in the field have proved time and time again with their research that this is how we should approach when we see static progress. How do we go about adjudicating that? The
Mm-hmm.
workflow is built on unpublished research to go and do that. So in terms of it, not being AI, it's not. It's built on conditional logic. So there's a whole audit trail. So in terms of, how do we talk to stakeholders in a meaningful way? And we say, oh, well, we're on top of our data. Well, what does that mean? Oh, well, we use, central reach, high Erasmus motivity. Neato, just because you're plugging data into your system doesn't mean you're quote on top of it. When I
Mm,
read, because I've worked with a lot of funders, when I read treatment plans where the same goal has been in existence for like 4 authorization periods, that's 2 years. Don't tell me you're on top of your data. Right.
right.
So how are you actually on top of your data? So we have a workflow right now. It's called Red Dot. So Steve, this should maybe,
Yeah.
PTSD, or, maybe good feelings.
Maybe you should put Steve on the spot, see if he can regurgitate this.
Do you remember the Red Dot at Creighton,
Yeah, I
Steve?
don't remember what was the criteria, like
So we had 10
3,
sessions at no
10?
progress,
Okay.
or 5 consecutive sessions at 50% or below. So basically like chance responding or less. Then we would have the practicum students. They were practicum students because we didn't have RBT designation back in the day because we were that many years old. But that
Mm-hmm.
practicum student, because we did not have the practice management data collection, everything was by hand. We were graphing everything in Excel and arguing with Excel every 5 minutes of the day. And we're in the school. And so we couldn't take their binders home with us. I remember the special education teacher telling me, if you like get in a car accident and your car blows up, that data's gone. I'm like, okay, but like, I'd also be dead. Like, there's no reference to that. Like, that was not important. It was just this
But the
kid's record
data.
would be, the data would be destroyed. I'm like, that's fair. So, I mean, we were constantly, we'd had to either get there before, the kids got, like, school was open, but the kids weren't quite there. During lunch, like, we were like, hawking when the kids go into the bathroom, like running over there and stealing the book. So we relied a lot on the practicum students to tell us if things were not going well. So they would red dot for us. So they would look 10 sessions or 5 at Fitch or below. I think they took a lot of joy taking that big red expo marker, putting it next to the name of the goal on the side of the booth on this like piece of laminated paper. And they're like, come on, fuckers, come fix this. Oh, sorry. Can we swear in here, Kyle?
Yeah,
you can.
Now, I'll say, the reason I don't remember the details is because I was so good that I just never had to do it.
You just never had a red dot ever. Red dot free. But you were a practicum student, so you must have red dotted for us, right?
I'm sure.
So we would see that big red dot and be like, oh crap, like things aren't going well. Like there was a real sense of urgency that if like 10 sessions, like we wasted 10 sessions with this kid of it not going well. Like we need to go figure it out. And then because of our practicum experience and our supervision, we were able to, almost all the time, like independently adjudicate it, right? And go in and figure out what the problem is. But we also had a cohort of like 10 other people to be like, man, can you take a look at this? Because like something's not going so well. Or we had a second year, or we had a doc student.
And then like weekly meetings to sit around and discuss it with each other.
Yeah. So we had plenty of opportunity to go and figure that out of like, why are things not going well? Go fix it, whatever that case may be. But I'm not seeing that level of support, and I'm not seeing people look at their data with that kind of frequency. So if you were going to start using the upskill platform, Kyle, you would be using the red dot system as part of your workflow. We retrain your RBTs for how to spot a red dot. They then come answer 7 questions of yes or no, or an I'm not sure option, because sometimes we're not quite sure what's happening. And then based on that, we then have conditional tasks that will appear for the BCBA based on those responses to, hey, you need to start investigating this. They have the option to skip, because like I said, we are helping you make better informed decisions, but we're not forcing you to take any action. This is still your caseload as the clinician. You still own it. And they will go through, but those guided tasks. So maybe we see there is a difference between practitioners. So RBT1 is getting like 80s, RBT is getting 20s, like something's going on. So then the system's going to suggest that you do some fidelity monitoring. Go watch them both, see what's going on there if we have some fidelity problems. But again, you can opt out. No one's going to force you to go do fidelity monitoring. I'd be curious why you wouldn't want to, but you can. Right. And then if you see issues there, it's going to give you suggestions on how to, improve that fidelity with the RBT that's having those problems. So that's how it becomes a whole workflow in your agency. And then when you go and talk to a funder and you say we're on top of our data, and they say how, you can say here's how, because there's an entire audit trail that's going to show you how often it's being red dotted, how long it's taking you to can kind of find a resolution, because we have it set. We have a resolution deadline of 2 weeks. We think 2 weeks is a reasonable amount of time for you to get through that. And then it's all transparent within the system. So the RBT can also see, I sent the red dot to Kyle. I can see that he's opened it. I can see he started doing tasks like to start and fix it. He can tag me in things and say, hey, I'm going to come, jump into your session tomorrow and try some stuff out. So then our RBT is not just, I told you about it and nothing happened. Like, why am I going to tell you again, right? As behavioral analysts, we should understand that if we put things on extinction, they're probably going to go away, right? So that's how one of the systems works.
What's crazy to me about that is we're talking a year or two, like you're saying, without making any changes. And remembering back, 5 sessions or 10 sessions could easily happen in a week. Like, this isn't working. We've less than a week. We're making changes to fix this, and we're talking years now. Seems to be potentially the norm. It's just amazing how, and it doesn't even cross my mind until you bring that up, how quickly and on top of things we were able to be back in those days.
Yeah. But it wasn't just a Croydon. It's not just a Croydonism, that 10 sessions. There's multiple publications that let us know that yes, within 10 sessions, you can make a good decision. And it's not always you need to change something, right? It may be 10 sessions, we're in the 70s and we have an upward trend and we're like, okay, we're going to watch, right? Like we are close and like we're going to be there soon, hopefully. But I see other graphs where it's months and months. And I'll ask BCBA, like, what's going on here? And they're like, oh yeah, it's really bad. So there's not a disconnect that I think it's bad and they think it's good. They're just like, oh yeah, it's just not going very well. Well, what are you going to do about it? We're waiting.
Monitor the data.
Yeah. We're waiting for what? For a miracle? Because that seems going to be the only thing that's going to get, this to change. So I don't think that BCBAs have they're not just, I don't think they're delusional thinking that the progress we're getting is amazing. I think that they're stuck they're either stuck and don't know what to do about it, or I think they've now been conditioned that this is just how it goes, because when they were an RBT, it wasn't very fast. And so we just are now accepted that the kid has autism, so they're going to learn slowly. Well, why are they learning slowly? Well, they have autism. Let me just go around and around and around with circular reasoning as to why things aren't progressing, where it should be the opposite, right? If we have intensive services, we should see, behavior take off, right?
It seems like such a great, especially as you describe kind of like the modern BCBA of being, I look at my computer sometimes, I've got 10 open tabs that have unfinished tasks on them. I've got 4 emails that I've drafted that I have not sent yet. And then I look at all my clients and there's a number of issues that I need to tackle. And it's like, I don't even know where to start first. Having something in there in your environment and something ready to kind of point you at least in a start, like kind of get that momentum started, I think is a really, really, it could benefit a lot of BCBAs.
Yeah, I do want folks to kind of look at it as kind of a project management tool. I think that there is some like decision paralysis to your point. Like I've got all these things to do. There's no way I can get them all done. I'm just going to sit here and freak out for the next 20 minutes and do nothing, right? Yes, this gives you a starting point and with help, right? So it's not, well, go figure it out. I mean, that was us. I was like, got a red dot, go do something, dummy. And we're like, okay. There's a lot of freaking out. But again, we had all those supports in place if we really were on the freak out bus. But this gives them that clinical guidance, kind of buddy sitting next to you to, hey, what do I do here? Right?
Yeah. There's no CPT code for panic attack, at least not for the practitioner. Where do I like to talk ethics, even just briefly, but where do ethics fit into a system like this? How has that incorporated? And
So, I think with this model in particular, I'm going to harp on the red dot a little bit because that's what I'm most passionate about, because I really want kiddos to be making progress and titrate out of services, right? Like that should be our goal constantly, is working ourselves out of the job. And so, when you look at the ethics code, like one of them, I think anyone in health services, human services, like do no harm, right? Like that's everyone. I don't think anyone will come fight me in the parking lot when I say that we should be doing no harm, right? Hopefully not. If you do, then maybe you shouldn't be a behavior analyst. But if we really, if we need to uphold that particular code, like to do no harm, I think that when people think about that, they're thinking about maybe like use of punishment and restraint. And I don't think they're wrong, to kind of think of and put that into that, under that umbrella of do no harm. But I think they're forgetting about, I think there is educational harm that happens when we are asking a learner to keep engaging in instruction that's not effective, because we are now losing educational time that we can't undo. There's no rewind button or the reset or do over. If I've exposed you to faulty intervention for 6 months, I've done maybe a few things. We've not acquired the skill that I said that we were set out to do. I may now be creating all sorts of weird, stimulus control issues, biases and things like that. So faulty stimulus control. I may have now made instruction aversive, right? Like at least with that program, and then potentially bleeding that into other programs, right? To the point where mom pulls up in the parking lot to the clinic and the kid's like, F you, I'm not getting out of the car. I hate that place, right? Because I'm not getting, good quality instruction. I'm not enjoying learning. And so I think all of that falls under educational harm. And again, we are supposed to do no harm. And so how are we as a field holding ourselves accountable to make sure that we are not exposing kids to faulty learning for months and months and months and months at a time? And so I think the red dot directly combats that. We are looking 5 sessions, 10 sessions. We are going in there and making sure that we are not continuing down a path where this kid's not going to learn anything and potentially develop all sorts of problems along.
Yeah, there's something about, I think what led me to this field is looking at other forms of psychology and intervention and that sort of thing where I don't know their ethics code. Maybe they also have a right to effective treatment as well, but it's very much, here's your diagnosis, here is the type of therapy you do, you plug it in. If it doesn't work, it's like, oh shoot, I guess that's one of the outliers, rather than being, okay, no, we need to change, alter, and use our science to redesign the wheel as necessary. And so it is something that I don't think enough people either have experience with or think about nowadays comparatively.
If there's any message that good behavior analysts have been kind of like screaming to the masses, is it's time to hold ourselves accountable. And I think that what you're saying, that like 10 sessions, oh no, like we have to do something, like that attitude should be commonplace. That should be clinic wide or nationwide phenomenon, that we get concerned when there's not progress being made. And so yeah, that ethos of holding ourselves accountable and not only doing no harm, but just doing so much better than kind of what we've fell down, like landed in this like little mold, and it's happened to work, but it's not really. So a lot of clinicians seem to have kind of like that X factor, or like there's this part where like, is there ever a situation where a decision model or decision tree might point in one direction, but then there's like that room for clinician expertise too? Like even the best of our models might miss something. And then, where do you kind of draw that line, if you can, between like peer-reviewed evidence and like best practice, and then also that clinical expertise, those gray hairs, if you will?
I mean, I think I've tried to embed the gray hairs, into the models as well for the anomalies, and that's why, again, like I'll say it like 17 more times, like it's not AI, so it's not going to say this is the thing you do and the only thing you do, and this is the only right answer, and anything other than this is wrong. It is a suggested pathway to like investigate. So even when we're like, if I go back to that temporal relationship, like there may be no temporal relationship, right? Like even if we see the data fluctuates throughout the day, like there may be something else going on. Like, oh, actually, like it's not related to the client. Like we have another client coming in at that time, like during the day, right? The model actually does account for that, but like there may be some other outlier variable that we didn't consider, because it's so unique to that case. Or like, oh, he gets his allergy medication at lunchtime, and that wasn't documented anywhere, right? But that's changing behavior like after lunchtime, and so it's not related to what we would see as some typical MOs. I mean, it just wasn't indicated anywhere that they were on meds, and like stuff can get missed. And so there's still going to be room for this. Didn't solve everything, but I can say with confidence it's going to solve 80% of what we're dealing with on the daily. And so if we can accomplish 80% with the models, and then only 20% need to be escalated to your clinic director or your regional or VP or whoever has like the bandwidth. Or when you come to your clinic director meeting once every other week, you're like, hey, I've got these kids down. Like, we're good. We're cooking. Hey, this one kid, I want to focus on this one kid because I can't figure this one thing out. Then that's going to help you then guide like your clinical, consultations as well. And I think we don't right now, most folks, if I would say, hey, who do you want to talk about today? It's like all of them, like everything's on fire, everything's a dumpster waffle, or like none of them because everything's terrible. And I also don't want to talk to you about that either. Or like, where do I start? Like, because I don't know how to prioritize. And so I am hoping that this blends that system as well.
And I do have it in my notes. Can you operationally, or perhaps at least topographically, define dumpster waffle for me? Because I don't know what that is.
It's really funny because I made these great. I'm going to ABA Cares next week in Boston, right? So if anyone's there, I don't know when the episode comes out. It might not be till after I get back. But I made these bookmarks, and I have a dumpster, like a little dumpster, and I have the 5% supervision in it because I think that's a trash standard. That's another podcast, probably, Kyle. But I have on there provide what's clinically necessary. Don't be a dumpster waffle. And so I got them, and I had them on my kitchen counter. And my husband's like, "What is a dumpster waffle?" I'm like, means don't suck at life, dude. And he's like, okay, just walk away. So that's how I'm going to define it. Like, don't suck at life. Don't be a dumpster waffle.
I like it. We've coined it here first, and going forward, it's going to be in Webster's by the end of the decade. So awesome. Well, let's move on towards your quality initiative, because I think that this all kind of either coincides or kind of falls into, clinician quality, clinic quality, quality in ABA. Tell us a little bit about the clinical quality study that you're doing, and what kind of questions or answers you're kind of looking for in this study.
Yeah, so I partnered up with United Health Hospital in Utah with Dr. Jess Osos and Dr. Casey Clay, and I made an original survey actually, and you can take it and you can get a whole bunch of free resources depending on how you answer through Upscale. But then they said, "Hey, do you want to do some research on this?" And I said, "I like being a nerd. Yes, please." So graciously enough, we made it through HSIRB at a hospital, which 0 stars, don't recommend, because they're used to like dealing with like cancer drugs, and they're like, "So are people gonna die?" We're like, "No, it's just a survey." But finally got HSIRB approval. So it is 29 questions across 5 areas, and it doesn't take very long because it is just yes, no. And then there is options to then we ask a question, do you think there's an indicator of quality? So we ask, like, do you do BST with all of the, RBTs that work with the client? Do you think that's an indicator of quality, for example? And you can either say, yes or no. And you can also, and then you also say, are you engaging in that practice? So do you think it's an indicator of quality? And then do you yourself do it? And then if you don't do it, you can also indicate like if there's any barriers, like I don't have time, it's not reimbursable, like whatever the case may be. So you can do that. And so what's interesting is we are seeing a lot of folks agreeing that yes, indeed, of these 29 things we've identified from the literature and from our practice collectively, we do agree they are indeed of a quality measure. And we are unfortunately seeing a lot of folks so far saying like, but we don't do them.
Mm. So has that been, I guess I don't want to put any biases into your results or skew your results in any way, but is it been surprising, or what's been your reaction so far to the results that you've seen?
So I'm glad people are being honest. I think that's kind of what I've been most surprised with. The results aren't that shocking because, like I said, I do have, we have like 200 responses of like the free survey with the, like that I created first, where it's like, hey, here's some things you think are quality, and then are you doing them? And so folks were, I think our average is like 58%, like out of 100. So I wasn't terribly surprised when we started seeing the actual research results that we're seeing a lot of people not engage with them, but people are agreeing with most of them now, but they're agreeing with a lot of them like, hey, we probably should be doing this. So we are still hoping to get more respondents. I think we only have like 65 right now for the actual research, and we would like to we have 80,000 BCBAs, right, practicing. So we'd like to be a little higher on the end there. So if anyone has time, like I said, it doesn't take that long to fill it out because it is just, yes, no responding. But we're hoping it'll be the first of many papers surrounding quality. We really would like to. Everyone keeps. I mean, if you guys are on LinkedIn, I'm on there all the time. But we don't have a way to measure quality. I'm like, I think we do, and that's what we're trying to at least lay a framework. Is it perfect? 100% not. But we are at least trying to get like a starting point. Like, can we at least agree on this? Like, these would be good ideas to start with, right? And then build from there, as opposed to like, we just can't do it, and just learn helplessness and give up and decide our field's going to shit and do nothing about it. I've instead decided we can at least start with survey. So we're starting.
Sure.
It'd be interesting to see how like job satisfaction and burnout match up with that as well, because obviously there's billable hours and all those arguments everywhere and everybody feeling like they're overworked, but if you felt like you were doing a good job and really helping people, I wonder how much that would reduce some of those feelings.
So I did another LinkedIn survey, which again, it's LinkedIn, right? So I mean, take that with a grain of salt of, who's responding it. But I did a poll of like, why did you lose your last job? And it was, pay, like different pay. I think I did like work-life balance. And then I didn't feel like I was providing quality services. And that was the
Mm.
overwhelming response, was people I can't remember what else I put. As I think there was a fourth option that I can't remember right now, but it was overwhelmingly because they didn't feel like they were providing quality service. They're leaving.
Hmm. And what does clinical quality? There's no necessarily agreed on definition, or is there? I mean, you tell me. I will say too, I did take the survey, so plug for the survey. Also, I did not die, so can confirm it wasn't too bad. And I did answer honestly, and it was hard to answer honestly because some of my no's I didn't feel great about putting. So I'm glad that I got to answer anonymously too. But yeah, it opened my eyes to like, oh yeah, like this should be a quality indicator. But yeah, going back to that question, what in the lit as a field, what have we agreed upon, if anything, is a working definition of quality in ABA?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's tough. That's how we arrived at 29 questions, because we couldn't put that into like a one sentence answer. And I think we've gotten feedback because people have taken it and messaged me, either on LinkedIn or email of like, oh, we wish you also included this. We also included
Mm.
that. And I don't disagree with their additions, but I think we're trying to be mindful of like participant fatigue. Like if we put 100 things in there, I don't think anyone would take it. We're already on the struggle bus with 29. So
Yeah, I would not have taken 100.
yeah, like I think it's just a
Yeah.
lot. And so we're trying to do some more broad strokes around the areas of treatment fidelity, around caregiver guidance, around, daily sessions and data collection and things like that, to see if we can at least in those areas say, hey, when you're coming into service, this is what it should look like. So I'm not purposely trying to be obnoxious, but I think in terms of like what's the quality definition, like we're trying to capture that within those 29 questions of the survey, to see like, are you doing these particular things? And I'm hoping that people who are taking it, it is anonymous, like truly, like you enter in 0 PHI, like you don't enter in age or name, like you just don't. I have no idea who has taken it. There's no way for us to tell. So please, I want people to feel very confident that we have no idea who you are. But we do have in the disclaimer, like it may make you feel a little uncomfortable if you are
Mhm.
reading these things and then are saying, oh crap, yeah, that probably is a good idea and we don't do them. Like there may be some discomfort in doing that, but I'm hoping that folks then realize, like once you know that, like that's an opportunity then to say, maybe I could start meeting with my caregivers more frequently. Oh, maybe I should find out if they're satisfied with the service I'm providing. I'm not doing that right now, but that's something that I could like start doing. And it is a marathon and not a sprint. So if you take those 29 questions and find out you're only doing half of them, you're not going to get it sorted like by the end of the week, right? And that's like, okay, I think having that information is the first step and being valuable. And then, try one by one to start, if it's valuable to you, if you're in alignment that, hey, this is something I could and should be doing, then start knocking off, one or two of those in the next quarter. And then, making your practice that much better a little bit.
And that's a good point too, is because as I took it, I imagined that there would be things that some folks in the field would feel that they do very well and with high quality, but would not be on this survey as an indicator of clinical quality. And that's speaking to, and maybe it's also a question, agencies who measure things that maybe aren't good indicators of clinical quality, but they are good, as I think your cool business lingo, KPIs, but things that are important to the organization, but maybe don't actually factor into necessarily clinical quality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think and Steve can jump in because I feel like he's going to be itching to talk about this one. I think there is often the KPIs are often very much operational, like heavy, like they're very much leaning to billable hours and cancellations and things like that. And not to say there's not some overlap, right? If your client is supposed to be receiving 30 hours a week and they are only receiving 50% of that dosage, like that is going to impact quality as well. But I think that most folks are looking at that from the financial lens only, and how do we recoup that lost time in terms of money versus how do we recoup that lost time in terms of like therapy and treatment and educational opportunities.
Outcomes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do think most businesses are operational leaning and not clinical outcomes leaning.
Yeah, and we've talked about it in our other podcasts as well. It's the fact that society as a whole and businesses have set it up where the reinforcer is based on these things, not the quality of care. And if we could shift that, if we could make it where your pay and your income and the success of your business is based on how good the quality is, and not necessarily client outcomes, because you're going to have some folks that things, there's barriers or some things that just won't work for some reason out of your control, but that you're doing everything the right way and doing your best to give high quality care. It'd be a much better system and a better society. But how do you change all levels of that society to do that? That's the hard part.
I mean, I feel for clinicians like who are really trying to do all of the right things, and they see that a counterpart that's maybe not doing great quality, like they're getting paid the same, like the reimbursement rate is the same, and then their margins are much bigger because they're not spending time on onboarding, or they're not spending time on, hey, let's do a round table to talk about this case and no, it's not going to be reimbursable. And so then they're operating with much smaller margins, and then they see the place down the street like handing out bonuses and pizza parties, and not that those are fun, but they have more money to work with, and then they may be losing staff because they can't offer the same salaries, but they're doing better service. I imagine that must feel really unfair. I think it is. And so I think it's hard. I think it's hard for those clinics who are really trying to do better and lead with quality. I think it must be very difficult to keep trudging on when they're seeing other people get the same pay for more or less.
And there are so many barriers that it's hard to even think of that may come up. Like even in our work consulting, for severe behavior, we have two different models. Either all right, you won't pay for us to come in and do all the work ourselves and really have this one-on-one time with the BCBA to work on the behavior change, but you will pay for us to consult with caregivers and teach them how to do it. And now there's this barrier of like, what if they don't want to do it, or if they don't care? It's one more thing to ask them to do. And on the other side, someone on another contract is getting to go in there, have a smaller caseload, and really do the great work. That right there could be a quality of life, thing that we're not even able to consider, because what will the funder pay for?
You mentioned clinics who are do care about quality and partaking in those quality initiatives. If an agency tomorrow wants to start becoming more data driven about their quality and more intentional about their quality, what do you suggest is a good starting point for them?
I mean, we would love everyone to take the research, survey, which is lovely, and, help us with their publication. But it ends there, right? There's no follow up to it because, again, it's anonymous, and you take the survey and you leave. If they come to upskill, they can take the same survey, but at the end of it, they will then get access to free tools, job aids, task analyses, articles to say, hey, if you're not doing well with this, here's how you could go and fix it. And they can come back over time and retake it and see how their quality kind of performance is changing as they start on initiatives. So For example, caregiver guidance is a big one. There's a lot of questions there because unfortunately, as a field, we're not doing fantastically well in that area. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that we are like billing like 20% of what we are actually like requesting and getting authorized in terms of caregiver guidance. So there's quite a few questions related to caregiver guidance. So if you're not doing a survey for caregiver satisfaction, you can go and access the articles that talk about it and how to develop a survey yourself, including sample questions. And so let's say you roll that out and maybe you just do it with your own caseload, right? Like just your own parents. And then you get like your friend that also works there. And then maybe your whole clinic does it. You can come back and do reassessments and see like over time how you're improving. And then you can do that for all of the areas of the survey there. And it's free. Did I mention it's free? Free. It's free to go do it. It's free to go make yourself better. And that survey is free and will remain free for as long as the internet exists, if I can help it, because I do really think it's important for cost not to be a barrier for people to do better. That's another reason I started my school, the Quality Initiatives in ABA. It's a free school. There's free CEUs, both live and recorded. I, again, don't want cost to be a barrier for people who want to do some self-improvement, either in their own practice or the practice of their clinic and with their clients. We also meet once a week and do either we do a roundtable or a knowledge transfer session or a war game. So people can come in with problems and we kind of war game. We have guest presenters come in and it's not a CEU, but just kind of something important in the field and do a KT session. Or we just kind of have a roundtable where we're going to discuss kind of things that are coming up in the field. So it's free to be a member and to join all of those things in any capacity that they want to. We have a lot of lurkers. So like if you come to a roundtable or a war game, you don't have to talk. You don't turn your camera on. You can just hang out, be a lurker. We have lurkers. That's okay.
But you do have to be a member though first. And I found that out the hard way trying to join one a few weeks ago and I was not signed up yet. So I just thought I could click a link. Nope, you got to join first. So I'm texting Kristen and like, where do I go? And she's like, she can't text back because she's leading the war game. So
and also don't be a lurker at other times. Don't be lurking in the shadows somewhere. Just for the war games and this
context
project.
is everything.
Yeah.
Context.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Just for the school community. I just don't want people to think if they show up, they are gonna be like forced to participate or they're gonna be put on the spot. Like they can just come and listen if they want to. We also, since it's in Google Meets, they can chat so that they don't even want to like unmic or they can always put like questions in the chat and stuff like that. So people can determine their own level of involvement with those activities.
Your newsletters on LinkedIn, the school, everything is always very approachable. So I can vouch for that. If anybody is very unsure if they want to join something that's live, that can seem intimidating, I will vouch for Kristen that it's not intimidating. Even when the devil horns come out, which did not today, so I was happy about that. There's nothing too controversial. But the whole community is really cool, and you've got a lot of folks in it.
Yeah,
there's a big crowd there.
Yeah, the pebble throwers. We have to give a shout out to Mark Malady because that was he's coined the pebble thrower terms where he's like, I was kind of sitting around thinking like, this kind of sucks. It's like throwing pebbles into the Grand Canyon, in terms of trying to fix our field. He's like, but then I came to school and it's like, oh, you're chucking rocks and you're chucking rocks and maybe together we can move a boulder. And so shout out to Mark for that kind of mentality. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're not trying to just talk shit all day about the field, really trying to figure out how do we make it better? How do we help other people make it better? We do have a lot of newer BCBAs, some RBTs that come. And so we are blessed with having some senior level folks, like folks that have been in the field for a long time, donate their time. And then we have a lot of newer folks that are coming in with really great questions that we're trying to solve. So it really is, I'm trying to offer, a mentorship type of community if folks did not get that during their graduate program.
It's very cool. We're winding down on time. I'll end on this question. 5 years down the road from now, 10 years down the road, what do you hope the average BCBA approach to clinical quality looks like? How will you hope it has changed in the future?
Yeah, I hope that there is a shift in perspective that quality is a necessity and not a luxury. And I think that's how it's being perceived now. I think people see like their data collection platform, like I need that. Like I need to have electronic data collection because it makes my life easier. And I don't disagree. I mean, I love paper, but I get why people feel and have put that in the necessity camp. as opposed to a luxury. But I think any kind of initiative towards quality, they are putting that in that's a nice to have, saying, but we can't afford it right now, or we can't do it right now. I don't have the bandwidth to do it right now. And I want that to be like, we have to start with quality. All these other things are a nice to have kind of addition. So I hope we pivot to that.
Where can people find you on the interwebs? What links?
Yeah, so I am a very active LinkedIn user. So that's kind of the place I do most of my double horn wearing and mouthing off in general. Our school community. And so I'm hoping, Kyle, if I give you a link to that, folks can sign up for the quality initiatives in ABA. My website is upskillaba.com. And then
don't forget, she usually joins us weekly for the Behavior Business Roundtable.
Yes, I am here weekly with you guys when people aren't busy having babies or going to concerts in Europe. Usually we're here. And then
neither of those cool things were me either. I don't do cool things.
You have enough kids.
Yeah, that's true.
Chasing chickens. That didn't disrupt the whole show though. And then I every once in a while will be brave and do Instagram and TikTok when I can figure it out. But LinkedIn is probably the best.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Kristen Byra, thanks so much for joining Cooperant Learning. Everyone go check out upskillaba.com. We'll have links in the show notes to all your cool endeavors. And thanks for joining. It's been awesome.
Thanks for having me.